Okay, let's see if we can figure out why. Oh, now okay. All right. So, third time's a charm. Delighted to be here and to share some teachings with you today and share this beautiful springtime. Don't you just love May? May is one of my favorite times of the year, and I've got a really spectacular speaker I'm bringing to you today with some amazing content and some words of wisdom that are, unique. And I love bringing you what is unique and what is something, a teaching that you can really learn from and apply to your own life. That's how we best learn, is by our own stories. And let me see if she's with us. Let me send her a quick invitation here. I'm not seeing her yet. So let's give her another try here. And while we're waiting, I'll just tell you where I'm headed, in case you're hoping to see me. So I was just at the San Mateo Convention Center last week, and here in just a few weeks, I'll be heading to Europe, where I'll be doing workshops in Scotland and London. Then I'll be heading over to France for a workshop in Lyon. And then last but definitely not least, I'll be heading to Hamburg, Germany, one of my favorite places to go, where I've often appeared. And I'm really excited about coming back to Europe, and welcome Ardell. Great to see you, Ardell.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah. And I'm just going to turn the platform over to you and tell us your story, Ardell. So you have a very a really riveting story.
I hope my sound's all right there.
Oh yeah, no, sound is great.
Okay. Eventually, I think I'm referring to this as the evolution of my soul. I started very young, having a real sensitivity to spirit. I would be intensely aware when I was out in nature, even better if it was storming. And there was a lot of seeking on my part that I didn't really recognize for what it was. But I'm very grateful in hindsight that it was there. My family struggled. I'm the eldest of 4 children. And life was difficult and got more difficult. As I graduated from high school, I was marking the days off on the calendar in my bedroom as to when I could escape. And part of what that all was a real struggle on the part of my family to cope with things that happened. Small, rural, prairie town, not a lot of income, 4 kids. As the eldest, when my mom had to go to work full time to help support the family, at age 11, I inherited the other 3 and the housework. Fortunately, not meals, and that to this day stands. I'm not the world's best cook by any means, but we experienced a lot of difficult times, and even after I'd left home, they got more difficult. So we experienced a lot of financial stress, a lot of not coping with life, with gradual involvement in alcoholism and
you mean yourself or other members of your family?
One of my parents.
Okay.
And who eventually died of alcoholism at age 50.
Mother or father?
Father.
Uh-huh.
Drug use by sibs, attempted suicides, successful suicides. This was in the extended family. A very domineering grandmother who put even more pressure on them. So it was just sort of one crisis after another. So leaving home, I felt both guilty.
Ask a question, because I know that you've had a lifelong career in the therapy/counseling field. Was the rest of your family that educated?
No, they weren't. it's a blessing and a curse that I was expected both to be the main support to the family, but also in spite of severe restrictions on who I was allowed to be. I was also to be the one to provide a source of pride to them. And the intense grandmother happened to be a school principal. So the push for education was very strong, but it was also a desire of my own. I was born with a very lively curiosity and a desire to know and to learn. And in spite of all the difficulties, school and learning was an outlet for me. So going on to university in spite of no money, a bare pass to graduate out of grade 12. I do believe Spirit was at work within my life way, way back, opening doors for me. And I ended up with 2 degrees and a master's degree eventually. Paid off the loans, moved on to career. But along the way, I kind of lost myself. And my job became my identity. I didn't see it at the time, but I was looking for solutions to the things that I'd grown up with. So in working with children K to 12 in a counseling role, I was resolving issues for myself as much as I was being helpful to them. Along the way, there were what I call lifelines that came into being. While in university, I encountered crisis after crisis because in spite of my curiosity and my desire to learn, I also had a very strong self-sabotage thing going on where I would stress myself. I would miss deadlines or I'd do things at the last minute. It is amazing I got through, truthfully. But I came to faith through a campus organization. And it was a very intense struggle because by then I knew that something had to be true before I'd believe in it. And in investigating this whole Christian faith thing, I essentially put God on trial and said, I am going to give you a test. And if you meet the test, then I will make this commitment. And he did. And I did. And that faith was my stability throughout my early career because I would take on responsibilities, but then I would encounter, because my job was my identity, if I ran into difficulties, it became a personal thing. I took jobs that were physically and geographically very challenging, and I would just wear out because I was not good at setting boundaries. So along the way, my health started to take a hit over and over again. And that's when eventually a diagnosis of lupus came along. Now, I need to touch back.
Can I just ask, what were you like in your 40s at that time?
Yes, probably. Late 30s, early 40s. Just forgot what I was going to say, but that's all right.
Well, that's because I interrupted you.
I'm easily sidetracked. I remember gender identity. I remember my family was very traditional. My community was very traditional. And I was an extremely active, curiosity-driven child who did not worry about being feminine at all. I was adventuresome. When I could get out of the house, that was my opening and where I felt freedom. But reaching puberty, and still not worrying about whether I was always appropriately dressed, I got strict correction from my parents that I was to look like a girl, walk like a girl, and there was no discussion. There was never any discussion. So
you weren't looking ladylike if you came out in jeans and a sweatshirt?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very active when I could get out away from the responsibilities that I had. So my first degree, which happened to be in phys ed, all of a sudden I started encountering people who were much more like myself. I started encountering members of some of the other classes who were openly gay. And I was quite horrified because I really had no exposure to that until that time. So I know that's very late, but it was also very much related to the generation I was part of. So I started university in the late 60s. So we were just hitting turmoil. When I came to faith, there was no room to even consider that. And my understanding of my faith was powerfully real to me. I had some wonderful teaching and opportunities for leadership development, for teaching, for all kinds of things. And it just was never an issue. I just ignored it. As I worked on in my careers, it started to become an issue. And it had a lot to do with loneliness. My work being my identity, I didn't participate in very much in the community. I basically worked, went home, and just kind of collapsed. But gradually, I became aware that this was a question that was not going to go away. So I decided, largely based on my faith understanding, that even if I was gay, then that would simply mean that I would be celibate. And I would carry on with the roles that I had within the community, which by this time had become quite considerable. I had a lot of leadership opportunities and was enjoying it greatly. But gradually, the loneliness and the lack of a whole picture of myself crept up. And it wasn't until I was in my late 40s that finally I thought, I've got to come to terms with this. I can't keep ignoring and then being consumed by it, back and forth, back and forth. And of course, as usual, this was all in my head. It wasn't that I was exploring. As usual, I was doing a lot of reading. It was early times for the computer, but I was online. Google would have tracked me really nicely way back then. But I finally came to the point where I said, I'm going to be open to this possibility, even though it puts me in conflict with my faith position. And I know there wouldn't be a church in town that would accept me.
Well, I was just going to ask if the actual institution that you visited, I'm assuming you actually went to church somewhere.
Yes.
How they would feel about it.
Not
approving.
I was now working in a community that was so like my hometown. Mm-hmm. Rural, conservative, very conservative. So I just knew that was a step I had to take. So I just waited. And I carried on, but knowing that I was open. And amazingly, someone approached me and said they weren't going away. Rejected them. And I had opportunity to sort of say, oh my, is this the step or is this not? So I decided to proceed. And we have been together for 22 years now. But we've had to do it extremely quietly. She works in a an educational setting the way I did. I've now been retired for 4 years, but during all of those 22 years, we just knew we wouldn't make waves. We wouldn't be very open. It drove her crazy. She was shocked, I think, at the extent to which I was wanting to keep things private. But I do believe I would have lost my job if I had come out. That I may be exaggerating that. I was pretty certain about that. In the long run, looking back, going in when a crisis came up and I needed to be with my partner for some issue or another, I would go into my administrator and say, you may or may not be aware of this. And they said, oh, we knew for years. But I just thanked them, and we took that situation separate from any general coming out. So that continued until I retired. Last year, things took a huge shift. We organized a local pride committee and decided it was time for this community to experience what the rest of the world was all too well aware of, that there were many in this community who are gay, that this has been such a restrictive environment that many have had to leave before they came out. But we said, let's do it. So as the oldest person on the committee, the young ones have the energy and have the drive and say, we're insane to put up with these restrictions. So we went to the city council, had a Pride Week proclaimed, had the Queen's representative come from our sort of like a state capital and be part of a flag raising of the Pride flag to celebrate the week. And if the Queen's representative was there, the whole city council had to show up and a whole lot of other major figures in town. And then we carried off all these events last year for a week. And I was just out there doing whatever came up, whatever needed to be done. And then as part of that celebration, they had a gay straight prom for the grade 12s. And they asked me to speak. Mm-hmm. And when I told them I was only just now coming out publicly, I'm sure they just couldn't believe it. How could anything be so archaic or ancient? But I really appreciated the opportunity to just speak my heart openly. And we're having another Pride Week this year, and we're in the planning for that. So now, along the way, even though my partner and I had gotten together, I still had many things I was not coping well with. And it was through her that I became involved with you. In my cautious way, I sat in the back row for 3 years before I was flushed out. And you asked me one day at Miraval if you could interview me. And it was live streamed. And part of me was horrified. And part of me thought, Spirit is just taking me where I need to go next. And through everything that I have been learning and participating in with you and the Soul family, I am a different person. I'm still in the process of healing. I am still learning. I don't think I'll ever quit. But I am so grateful to now be more and more wholly myself. And I thank you for that.
Well, how beautiful, Ardell. My goodness. You just have such wisdom and such presence. I actually, I just can't say enough positive things. I had an interview earlier today And the interviewer was a younger woman, maybe 35 or 40 years old, and I told her, I said, what people are looking for is wisdom. They need their elders to help them. In our society, we don't offer that much anymore. It's pretty hard to find. And so people are just struggling with self-identity issues, with relationship issues, with their and so many people are terrified for our safety, the safety of their planet, our environment, with nuclear. I mean, there's just so many concerns. And they're, people under 55 are really looking around and saying, who do I look to for help here? Who can I trust? And, someone like you see, can give great help, not just to people that are having sexual orientation questions, but, and working maybe through that in their lifestyle, but questions about anything. They need someone they can trust. That's why you were so popular an entire career as a counselor. You just give off you exude this vibration of balance, that you've really been challenged and that you've worked through a lot of big challenges, and that you have this amazing gift to offer of sanity and balance and peace, and you can show people a road they can get on. And that's really what, thank you for the compliment, but what I'm trying to do is put a road in that people like you, with a little bit of training and pushing you on stage like I did at Miracle. I still remember that. I didn't give you any warning. I dragged you up on stage. You were Linda's friend. Next thing you know, you're up there talking about sexual orientation and coming out in Canada. Sorry about that. That was the quick immersion method. I'm sure you've done, great to help your community, and consciousness raising, really what it is. And rural Canada is just like the middle of the U.S. So, it's really, if we went to Indiana right now, not to poke fun at Indiana or any other state in the middle of the United States, I've lived in the middle of the U.S. and it's not California and it's not New York. And Canada is very much the same. We need to help people understand that we are all one. We are all one family. There is no us and them. I love what I see going on right now in Korea with the North and the South, holding hands and talking about fixing things. I mean, it's wonderful. It's really wonderful. I noticed right at the beginning when you first started speaking, though, you weren't addressing, going back to you weren't addressing sexual orientation. You mentioned gender, which is a whole different topic. And I wondered if you wanted to talk about that for a moment.
Well, I've thought a lot about that since Los Angeles.
Well, tell people, maybe give them a little bit of a backdrop there, a backstory of what happened in Los Angeles.
I was invited to the stage. I had been
one of our retreats. We have to tell, pardon me? Because we have to tell people that we have retreats for our advanced.
Oh, sorry.
Ardell's advanced student. She was at one of our retreats in LA a few months ago. And then she ended up on stage helping and working with some newer students, as I recall.
The last morning, I had been quite ill through the workshop. I had missed parts of it. But I was invited up to the stage and had some absolutely amazing clearing of some significant blockages, which I had been unaware were there. I'm having to go by word of mouth from the others who were either witnessing or participating. I think it took a crew to do this.
It usually does. Mm-hmm.
I had a major blockage around my throat, which, in hindsight, affirmation of my inability to speak my truth most of my life, my whole life. Yep. And there was another one at the bottom. Must have been either at my feet or just above my feet. I'm not sure which. But the comment I remember you made at the time was, no wonder things can't be processed. They're just bouncing back and forth in between. And it's very difficult to clear anything. And that made such sense to me. Cycles, endless cycles that I was in that had no resolution, just kept happening over and over again. But you asked, there was some form of energy that was apparent, not to me, but to others. And the comment I heard was that it looked like warrior energy. And I remember turning and saying, wow, because I have seen myself as a quiet warrior all my life. Definitely going to bat for the underdog, but seeing injustices, seeing issues, and wanting to challenge them. My partner can tell you how verbal I am with the television, or things we hear spoken. I do feel those things intensely. But in conversation later, you and I were talking, or no, you asked the question while I was still up there. Do I have any awareness of what that blockage might be? Is it possible it has anything to do with identity?
I was more specific than that. I remember turning to you, and I know it wasn't even me speaking, it came from a higher source, because sometimes I watch the words come out of my mouth, and I remember thinking, oh, that's not for my personality. I'm not saying that. Someone is saying it through me. I remember saying to you, I think there's a gender identity issue. That's the blockage. And you just looked at me. I still remember.
You said, what kind of identity? And I remember just looking over my shoulder a bit and saying, gender? Mm-hmm. I really didn't know. Mm-hmm. But I think, and whether it's a function of the upbringing that I had, or whether it's a much bigger picture from outside myself, I don't know that I've ever had a strong sense of identity one way or the other. I just am. Mm-hmm. I do. I am progressing. I think I see things differently than lots of people. And where that seeing, I've just had a sense of knowing all my life. But until I got to energy medicine, I often didn't have any clue what to do about that. I certainly used it in my work, but I was guessing. I constantly sought additional training to better channel what I was picking up from clients. So I still don't really know what to do with that information. But this business of not feeling strongly male or female, maybe that's part of it.
Not boxed in anymore.
No.
Yeah. And I think you expressed it so well just a second ago when you said, well, I am, and I do. Yeah, because I mean, who are we? Why do we have to fit a definition? Mm-hmm. Somebody else's definition, by the way.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's always somebody else's. It's nice to just be free to be and do who we are, and that can change. That can change. I mean, we're dynamic. We're changing every day. Every cell of our body is changing every moment. So, you know, the Ardell today is different from the Ardell yesterday, or certainly a year ago, or good heavens, 40 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very interesting statement, that I do.
And I don't worry about it, really.
Well, we're too busy doing, right?
I have been.
I think so. Well, wonderful, Ardell. What a great gift you've brought all of our viewers and listeners today. And I can't wait for people to get the chance, who weren't here today. They'll get the chance to play this on YouTube or on our Facebook channel. because you have really, I've known that from the very beginning when I saw you way in the back of those rooms. I knew you had some enormous gift to bring to people. So let's take some questions. I bet I have some questions here, and love to talk more about all the things that Ardell has told us about. How about maybe we can have Christina join us. I can usually carry 3 people up here. And if not, Christina, she's in Argentina. She says living in Lima, Peru. And let's see if she can join us. I'll try again, Christina, and see if you can't join us. I'm not sure your camera's going to pick you up, Christina. So let's take a look at her question. She said when she was a kid and teenager, she felt very sensitive and had dreams and bizarre experiences that felt like dreams. She said once she knew the last name of a new kid at school that was yet to be introduced to her, but she said it's been a long time since I've had those experiences. Back then, I didn't know what to do with them. What was that? Was that a gift, and have I lost it? Well, Christina, we'd love to see you, but doesn't look like you're going to be able to join us on camera, but you haven't lost that. First of all, you've misplaced it, feels like, briefly. And just hanging out here and talking about these kinds of things will start to open you to it again. If you can just tell yourself how open you are to it, and when you go to bed at night, just take a second and say to Spirit, just close your eyes and say to Spirit, you know, I'd like to get my gift back. I think it won't take very long and it'll just open. What happens is when we start to go into adulthood, we're told so much by our elders and the school system and whatnot that, oh, you know, you should turn that off. That stuff isn't real. And let's talk about science, that we tend to discount it. But in fact, we all have those kind of gifts. And so all you have to do is be open to them, and they'll come back. So let's check and see who else we have over here that wants to ask a question. How about Paulina has some questions. And Paulina, let me go check the camera status here and see if I can get you on. Give me a second. I have to do 2 screens at once. This is all very technical. And Pavlina says accepting and connecting, so I think you're headed our way, Pavlina. We'll give her a minute. It's great to see all you guys, and thank you for all your comments over here complimenting Ardell on. She's just a natural-born speaker, isn't she? So it's really nice to have this wonderful opportunity to showcase some of my advanced students and their gifts and their stories. Pavlina, are you headed our way? Give the system a second here and see if she can join us. Oops, looks like Ardell just fell off. Let's see if Pavlina can join us. Still says accepting and connecting. While I'm waiting for you, Pavlina, I'll go look at your question. She says she's in Barcelona, Spain. She just started taking my Be a Modern Master course, and that course is offered. You can come over to our website and find it. It's offered on Mind Valley, but you can pick it up from us. It's a wonderful course, by the way. It's where I teach my advanced meditation course. It's pretty awesome. She says, is the mantra that I provided her in that course still valid? Yes, it is. Christina, it doesn't have an expiration date. Okay. And she says, if I understood it, it was not to be heard in your head and not to be not to be spoken. And that's correct. You hear it inside your head. You don't chant it or sing it. But she said, I sometimes hear singing. And that's interesting. That's that I think that's just a kind of an advanced ability you have. All right, I don't think I don't see anything wrong with that. I'm going to try inviting you again, okay? Because I don't see where you've been able to join me. Let me try one more time to pick you up. Remember, you guys have to be on Crowdcast. You're aware of that, right? You need to, and best to be, if you're on Crowdcast to ask me a question, best to be on the Chrome browser. That's the tricky part. You really want to be using Chrome and not one of the other browsers. Okay, and then let's see, let's check for more questions here. And Pablina, again, I'm going to try you one more time, Pablina, and see if I can't bring you up, okay? And then I'm dropping down to the next question. It's from Puong, who's Vietnamese. She says she's living in Bangkok. And Puong hasn't activated her camera, so I'll address her question. She too is attending my Be a Modern Master course at Mind Valley. And she said that she had an out-of-body experience here that startled her. And what could that be? And is it safe? Very safe. Puong, I don't want you to worry about that at all. That's really normal. That's because you are already, you're very open, okay, at the 7th, 8th, and higher chakras. And so you just, for the first time, felt that expanded awareness state. I don't want you to worry about that at all. You are 100% safe. And chances are you will initiate while you're studying that program with me. And that will open you to serving others and, will open you up to a whole new path. Okay, so I'm excited for you and would love to see you next time you come here to my Facebook platform. Why don't you use a device that allows you to come join by camera, because it's great if I can see you. And look, we have Pablina here. Hi, Pablina.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi. Thanks for having me. So Deborah, I would like to thank you again for everything that you are teaching us. It's I'm very grateful for everything that I'm learning with you. And
so
I would like
to be a modern master class, right?
Yeah, I just actually started it like 1 week ago, but I already went through all the classes. I just listened to them, but I'm doing the sutras week by week, as you suggested, and I'm gonna listen to each class again, in the week. I was just curious, and I was just wondering. I have a mom who is sick, and I would like to help her. Basically, one of the reasons why I started to be interested in energy medicine and all this is that when I found out that my mom was sick, and I felt like the need to help her to heal. And I've been trying to find out how to help her to heal her via energy medicine. So I was wondering.
At the beginning, I didn't hear who you said this lady was. Who is she?
It's my mom. It's my mom.
Your mother. Okay.
She doesn't live in space. She lives in Czech Republic. So for the moment, I will be visiting her in 2 months. But for the moment, I can only maybe do distantly or.
Yeah, but can't you see her on on Skype or something?
Yeah, that would be possible. Even though she basically is feeling so sick that she has to lay down all the time. So she can be with a computer, not for a long time. But yeah, but it would be possible. Yeah.
And you're going to see her during the summer.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of June, I'm going there.
And you mentioned her health is not good at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's she knows that I'm trying to focus on her, etc. But it has no results.
Right. Well, here's what I would encourage you to do is you're very open, and for your own health and safety, I would encourage you maybe to be a little less open, maybe feel a little less empathic. So you're very empathic, which is a wonderful quality between parents and children and parents. Is what you're describing here is from you to her, but it's a little too much, Pablina. I'd like for you to close it down a bit. You're exhausting your own energy. And there's no need to do that. Your mother's at a distance. So I would have you focus more on yourself. Does that make sense? For your safety, because then when you're, as a caregiver, when you're robust and healthy, you can give more.
Yeah.
You can give her more when you see her, but right now you're kind of draining yourself because you're worried a lot.
Yeah, but that's not because of her. I'm not very much worried about her. I have some other problems in my life, maybe.
You're worried about some things, but it's draining you too much. And I'd like to help you fill yourself with energy rather than draining yourself with energy. So take the things that you're worried about and kind of mentally sort of just push them out a bit and say to yourself, right now, the most important thing I can do for me is to take a walk in the beautiful, fresh spring air, to, you know, do some yoga or whatever, play tennis, whatever recharges you, because you're a little bit depleted. For a young woman, I'd like to see you a little more robust.
Okay.
Before you give of yourself a lot to these issues and problems that you're sensing.
Yeah.
Sense?
Okay. Thanks a lot.
I want to see your health increase.
Sorry?
I want to see your health increase.
Okay.
Your healthy quotient. I want to see your chi, literally your energy. I want to see it come up.
Yeah, I have to sort out some problems as well in my life.
That course of mine that you plan to take is a big energy builder.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not much of a time commitment. I would really encourage you to do that and worry less.
Okay.
And just to talk about worry for a minute, you are the same body type I am. I don't know if you've studied any Ayurveda, a little bit of Ayurveda with me.
Yeah, like I read all the descriptions, but I don't remember them very much.
Okay, well, you're the same body type I am. You're a Vata Pitta. That means you're mostly air and a lot of fire and not a lot of earth. In fact, I'm not picking up hardly any earth on you at all.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So we air people, we have to be more careful because while we're full of energy and we're very spontaneous and exciting and we love to do new things, the problem is we wear out pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yes, even at a young age. So I want to really encourage you to do more earth stuff, like things outdoors and regular hours, and take the worry and kind of push the worry away and say, I don't need to worry about that job or that relationship or my mother. I just need to take care of me.
Okay.
That's what I would really encourage you. And really balance your air quality.
Okay. I will try. Can I just quickly ask one more question? I have just been learning to become a Reiki master, and then in the last lesson of the Modern Master course, you mentioned that it's actually not good to have the Reiki
well, no, I didn't say it's not good. I just said that it's probably time, if you've gotten to the last week here, to step up to a little, just a higher energy.
Okay. Okay.
Not that it's not good. It's a great place to start. It's a great place to start.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you very much, Deborah.
You are already higher than that energy.
Sorry?
You are already higher.
Ah, okay. Then the Reiki.
So it's wonderful that you have that foundation. That's wonderful.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I'm so glad you could come. Yeah, great to see you. All right, you guys. Great being with you all. Really loved it. And let's thank again our guest Ardell, who's just full of wisdom, isn't she? Would love to see you again. I'll be in Scotland and London and France in Lyon, and then in Hamburg here just in a few weeks. And so if you're anywhere on the European continent, hop a train, come meet me. Would love to see you there. All right, you guys. Until next week, you take care.